Hey guys, Castmaster here, and today I'm going to show you the basic bass fishing gear. So first we're going to start off with hooks. My favorite bass fishing hook is called worm hook. The way I rig it, it's a weedless way. So all you have to do is stick it in through the nose, pull it out when it bends. You get to the bend, you pull it out, you run it through. You twist, you kind of sort of measure so you make it straight, and then you stick it in through the belly. And what this is going to do, it's going to allow you to be reeling under or over weed, and the weed won't get stuck like this. The weed just slides over, and then when a fish bites it, the hook will be exposed, and then you hook onto the fish. So this is a great way to start out bass fishing. I started out this way, and it's just a really good setup. Other hooks for bass fishing, even though that's the one I 90% of the time use, this is also another good one. You can rig it up like a drop shot. You just stick it through the middle of a worm, you drop it down. Bass also like that. It's also another hook that you can use for all around fishing, but bass is good for drop shots and stuff. So I use it a lot. It catches a lot of fish, but the only problem is they're small hooks, and I tend to gut hook bass a lot more than with the worm hook, because when I set the hook with this, it usually sticks into the side, but this one they just swallow it. Next thing is lures. For bass fishing, there's tons and tons of different types of lures, but I'm going to show you the ones that I think you should start off with, and even advanced fishermen, I think, catch the most bass with. So this is my small tackle box. There's hundreds of types of bass lures. So first I'm going to start off with crankbaits. These are usually the hard plastic ones with treble hooks on the bottom. This specific one is called jerkbaits. It's not my favorite type of crankbait. I like lipless crankbaits a lot more, which I'll show you in a second. There's a lot of types of jerkbaits. This is a jerkbait. These are all jerkbaits, and they float. I don't really like them. I'm just showing you them. Maybe you'll like them, so go check them out. And I don't know, maybe you'll get lucky, but I never got lucky. Another topwater lure is the topwater frog. This one I really like. I usually rig it. It's just, you tie it on, it floats on the water, and it's totally weedless. The hooks are on the side, so weed goes over it, it doesn't get hooked, but then when the fish grabs it, the hooks are exposed. And a tip for frogs, the tail is way too long. I tend to trim it down a bit, so when I put it forward, it goes to the head, or a little bit shorter. When they're brand new, the tail goes like all the way up to here, and the fish sometimes will jump to the tail and not get hooked. So I like to cut them down a bit. Another lure is jigs. Jigs, unlike the jerkbaits and topwater frog, this one sinks. There's different types of jigs. I don't have any other jigs right now, but this is called the head. There's football heads. There's a lot of different types of heads. With jigs, they're not very weedless. This tries to make them weedless a bit, so the weed doesn't get hooked onto the hook, but then the fish can grab it and this thing goes up. I put, let me show you what I was using. I like to put some sort of soft plastic on the jig to give it a little more fish-like appearance, I guess, because by itself it just looks like a weird squid. So it's gonna look like this if you put something on it. I like to fish it more like this. It's a good bait. I recommend using it in a place where there isn't that much weed, because if there is that much weed, it's going to get snagged a lot and it's going to make that fishing trip very bad. So we've already gone over jerk baits, topwater frogs, jigs, and now I'm going to show you another one, another crankbait. This one's called the popper. Poppers are another topwater crankbait, and the reason they're called poppers is because when you reel them in, they're going to make like splashes because of this deep mouth they have. So when you pull it, it'll make a big splash, which attracts more aggressive fish like peacock bass. Largemouth bass also like it, but I don't recommend it when there's a lot of weed because it's also going to make that fishing trip impossible. Yet another crankbait, it's called, this is like, I don't know what this is called actually. It's a weird crankbait. But remember the lipless crankbait? The difference between a lipless crankbait and a crankbait is this. Lipless crankbaits have no lip. This is called the lip. And as you can see, this one is huge. I don't know why it's so big. I don't like it. I love these though. These sink, these float. Actually, when you reel them in fast enough, they would go underwater and make a lot of vibration. But I don't like it, so I wouldn't recommend it for almost anything. You can use smaller crankbaits like square bill crankbaits, but stuff like this, I don't like. I do like these though. Lipless crankbaits, they're really good. They have a lot of action in them. Almost all of them have like a rattle. And they make it, I've caught a lot of fish on them, including one of my biggest peacock bass ever. Next up, also one of my favorites is swim baits. This is a small swim bait right here. Swim baits, I think you can guess why they're called swim baits. All of them have this circle-shaped tail. So water hits on one side and they vibrate and swim. They have a really good swimming action. So swim baits are really good. I've caught a lot of fish on them, and they come in all different sizes. And this one has an exposed hook, which I don't love, of course. I like hooks that are exposed so they are weedless because I hate getting snagged on weed. So swim baits are really good. And of course, there's then a bunch of other lures I'm just going to show you. These are called rooster tails. They're good bass lures, but you can also catch a bunch of other bluegill or sunfish on them. These are called spoons. These are also good. I like using them in open water. I don't like using them in small canals or stuff like that because they sink, they're heavy, they sink, and they can get snagged really easily. Just another thing, these spoons are really good for trout. Now we're going to talk about my favorite lure. I've caught hundreds of fish on this. It's weedless. You can use it topwater. You can let it sink. It's really good. It's the fluke. And also all soft plastics. This, like I showed you, goes with the hook that you can rig it in a weedless way. It's soft. It feels even like a fish for the fish that eat it. Again, it's weedless. You can use it topwater if you reel it fast. You can let it sink if you reel it slow. They have swim bait flukes. And flukes are soft plastic because they're soft plastic. There's also a bunch of other different soft plastics. There's frog soft plastics. There's 12-inch worm soft plastics. So there's all different sizes and shapes of soft plastics, and I think that's the best all-around bass lure to anywhere. You can use it in open water, you can use it in tiny canals, you can use it in humongous lakes. So I think that's the best lure all around for bass. Now we're going to talk about the rods and reels. I started out with spinning rods. I don't know if you can see this. Spinning rods. They're easy to cast and they're good in almost any situation. They also come in all different sizes. I would recommend the sizes are by 1,000, 2,500. I think size 2,500 for bass fishing spinning reels are really good. Also, the length of the rod is really important and the power of it. This is a 6.6 medium action spinning rod. 6.6, I don't like spinning rods that are over 6.6 for bass. I just don't feel like you need a rod that long. I like 6-foot spinning rods for bass and 6.6 spinning rods for bass. And I like it medium action. Medium action means how thick it is at the bottom and how thin it would get. So it's thin here, but it's thick here. So I like it medium action. It makes it good for every type of bait. You can cast light flukes very far away or heavy jigs. So it's a really good all-around rod to start out with, and it's easy to cast. So this, I think, is a really good spinning. So I think spinning reels are really good for everything. It's a great all-around rod. Next rod is going to be the baitcaster. Baitcaster is a more advanced reel. It's harder to cast, but it's a lot more cool looking. And baitcasters have to be more specific. There's different sizes. This baitcasters, you can also choose if you want the handle on the right or on the left. How you cast it is, comment down below if you want to see how you cast the baitcaster. But you have to press this button and have a feel for the line to know how far it's going to go. So baitcasters are harder to cast. I wouldn't recommend them to start out. But then when you get more advanced, I think you should. They're really good. They're smoother. And good bait casting reels last a long time. Also, what I like, the rods for bait casting reels, I like, unlike spinning rod reels, like spinning rods, I like my bait casting reels 7-foot. Because I don't know why, but it just feels better. And the power, I like it medium heavy power. So it can, cast heavier lures like jigs or other heavy lures that lighter rods can't cast because it just can't. You can even break a rod if you cast a lure that's too heavy for it. Also, something you're gonna see about the bait casting rod, it's that it has this. It's so you can put your finger here while you're casting it. So like I said, I wouldn't recommend bait casting reels to start out with just because they're harder to cast. But when you master the spinning reel, I think you should buy yourself a bait casting reel. Not just because to be more advanced, but they are better in some situations. Now I'm going to talk to you about, this is going to be the last thing, bass fishing tools. In my opinion, all you need is pliers and a line cutter right there with the pliers. That's really all you need. If the bass gets gut hooked, you take it out with the pliers, and if you need to cut the line for some reason, you cut it here. So that's really all you need, I think, in tools for bass fishing. And this is going to be the end of today's video. This was just the beginner stuff, like the lures and the hooks and the rods. There's a lot more other stuff, but for more advanced, this is all you need to get started. So leave a like if you guys enjoyed and subscribe. And comment down below what lures I didn't mention and that you want me to use in a later video, and I'll go check them out.